So alright guys, welcome to another pattern drafting tutorial with Ruby. So for this pattern drafting tutorial, I'm going to be needing my pattern paper. Then I'll need some markers to create my marks. Then I'll be needing my measuring tape. I'll need my scissors, my rulers, the straight ruler, my armhole curve, and then my hip curve. All right, so to get started, first of all, I'm going to be explaining some things that I did in your absence. All right guys, so I had to use those pattern clips to hold my pattern paper in place. If you don't have these pattern clips, you can use your regular pin. All right, but I had to use this because I don't want to create holes on this pattern. So if you don't want to create holes on your pattern, then these clips will come in handy, but if not, just go ahead and use your pins. All right, so guys, I have two papers right here because I'm going to be cutting the front and the back together. All right, I have my line marked here, so this is going to serve for my center front and center back. So the first thing I'm going to do is to get my neck width. So for this tutorial, I'm going to be using the standard, which is 3.5. So I'm going to mark 3.5 here. All right, then I'm going to mark the neck depth. The neck depth, like I'm going to mark the front one first before I mark the back. So the front neck depth is going to be 5 inches. It all depends on what you want. So I'm going to cross mark it here. It depends on the kind of neck you want. I've always used round neck. I think I'm going to use a V neck, all right, for this video. I don't want my V to be sharp, all right. So this is the V. If you want a sharp V, you can just use a straight ruler and draw a sharp V. But the back neckline is going to come down by 1.5 inches. All right. All right, so this is the front neckline, and then this is the back neckline. The shoulder is 14 inches. I'm going to divide that by 2, which is going to give us 7. So from our center front, I'm going to mark 7 inches right here. To get the armhole, I'm going to divide the bust measurement by 6 and add 1 inch to that. So in this case, what I have is 7.5. So I'm going to measure 7.5. So whatever is your bust measurement, please divide that by 6 and add ½ inch to that. So this is it. So I'm going to come down by 1 inch around the shoulder. So the shoulder slant is going to be 1 inch. Some people use 1.5 or ½ inch. So I'm going to be using 1 inch for this video. All right, so the bust measurement is 36 by 4 is going to give us 9 inches. So from this point, I'm going to measure 9 inches. So this is our bust measurement. I'm going to draw a straight line to connect. All right, I can actually extend this if I want to. Can I extend this to here? So this is basically our bust line. So the next thing I will do is to get the midpoint of this, our line here. So the midpoint is 6.5. So 6.5 should be 3.2 inches. So which is going to be here. Then for the back neck, all right, I'm going to come up here by 1 inch, and then with my armhole curve, I'll make my connection So this is it. Then for this is going to serve as the back armhole. Then for the front, so I have a video dedicated to how to draft armhole for all sizes. All right, so I'm going to leave the link to that video in the description, or you can click on this card up here and watch that video. So what I'm going to do here is, if you want an easy way out, you measure your upper chest. So in this case, our front upper chest is 6 inches. All right, so this is 6 inches. This is the most accurate way to do this. I'm going to leave a picture on the screen so that you guys will see how to measure the upper chest. So this is exactly how to measure the upper chest. So once you have that, I'm going to connect this from here to here, and then I'll connect from here to here. The difference between the upper front chest and then the back chest is usually 1 inch. I have a detailed video on how to get armhole for all sizes, so you can use that method too if you don't, you want to use this method, but this one works just fine. All right guys, so I'm going to get the half length. The half length of this gown is 13 inches. So the half length is usually 2 inches above your belly button. So you measure from your shoulder line to your belly button and go up by 2 inches from your belly button. So I'm going to draw my straight line. All right guys, so the waist measurement is 26. 26 by 4 is going to give us 6.5. So a 6.5 mark should be here. I'm going to add 1 inch extra for the dart. All right, so this is 1 inch extra for the dart. From the waist to the hip is usually 8 inches, so I'm going to come down from the waist to the hip by 8 inches. So our body is not straight. All right, so I'm going to curve from this point. I'm going to curve to this point. Then our hip measurement is 36. 36 by 4 is going to give us 9. So from our center front, I'm going to measure 9, which is here. All right, so with my hip curve, I'm going to draw a curve from the waistline to the hip line. All right, so this is what we have so far. Now to insert the dart, I'm going to get the bust span or the bust broad. The bust broad is 7 inches for this. So the 7 inches divided by 2 is going to give us 3.5. So this is our 3.5 mark. From the bust line, I'm going to come down by 1 inch. All right, here. So I'll also measure 3.5. Then from the hip line, I'm going to come up by 2 inches or 1.5. I'm going to measure at 3.5 again here, and I'll draw a straight line. So now that we have our straight line, what I'm going to do is to mark ½ inch on both sides of this straight line. So I'm marking ½ inch on this side and on this side too. Then I'll connect. So the full length of this gown is going to be 26. This is going to be a very short gown. All right, so from this point, I'm going to mark 26, which is here. So I'm going to go ahead and mark our hip measurement, which is 9 inch here. So I'm going to extend it to this point. 9 inches. this is just for a straight gown, but if you want a pencil gown, what I'm going to do is to come in by 1 inch. So what I usually do is at this hip line I do come down by 2 inches, 2 or 3 inches, but because this is a very short gown, I'm just going to come down by 2 inches. So why I like to come down from the hip by 2 inches, 2.5, 3 inches is so that the pencil that I'm trying to create will not affect the actual hip measurements. So I'm going to cut the back pattern first before I cut the front. But before I do that, I'm going to put all my necessary seam allowances before I cut. So I'm going to be adding 1 inch seam allowance to the side. So I'm going to extend the line and also, use my curve to join the sides. So coming to the shoulders length, I'm going to extend it by ½ inch because that's what I'm going to be sewing on. Then I'm also going to add ½ inch to the armhole because that's what I'm going to be stitching on. So guys, I'm going to cut my back before I cut the front, but before I do that, I'm going to trace this I'm going to trace this line. I'm going to trace this line, trace the waist. So I'm going to start cutting. Like I told you guys, I'm going to cut my back neck before I cut my front neck. So so this is the seam for the front. All right, so let me put the seam for the back. Okay. So I'm going to cut the back first. So this ½ inch I have left here is going to be for the folding. Then I'm going to cut the back. All right. So now that I've cut the back, I'm going to separate the front from the back. Then I'll cut this line. Remember, I'm going to put back these lines that I marked here. I'm going to fix them back at the back. But before we get there, let me cut our center front. So I'm going to cut the armhole. Then I'm going to cut so this is the front. I'm going to bring back the back. So the difference between the back dart and the front dart is that I came down here by ½ inch, but in the front pattern I came down by 1 inch. So that's just the difference. So I'm going to mark my allowance for the zipper, which is going to be 1 inch. So I'm also going to extend this neckline here. So guys, this is what we have. If you want to have a straight slit, then this is okay, but I'm going to be making a back vent for this gown, so I'm going to slant it a little at the back. So I'm going to be extending this by 1 inch or 2 inches depending on how deep you want your overlap to be. So for a normal knee length skirt or gown, you can come up by 6 inches, but because this is a very short gown, I'm going to be coming up by 3. So this is going to be our overlap. So I'm gently going to cut this out. So I'm going to bring back the front pattern. So one beautiful thing I noticed about these clips is that it also helps your pattern to stay in place. So if you're working with your pattern and it is just flying up and down, you can just clip some parts and it will help your pattern to stay in place. Alright guys, so this is all about it. This is how to draft a basic bodice dress. Let me know what you think about this video. If you enjoyed it, please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, and if you have any question, feel free to drop your questions in the comment section below. I'll sure get to it. Bye.